My husband, Tom, works odd jobs and earns a meager salary. We're living off my earnings. Despite this, he pushes all household chores on me and struts around like he's in charge. One day, Tom said, "From next week, we're gonna live with my sister and her husband. Clear out a room for them." What? My brother-in-law left the company and they have to move out of the company housing. So I invited them to stay with us. I was speechless. Making decisions without consulting me? Unacceptable. Well then, please handle the monthly mortgage of $2,800. Why? I want a divorce. What? Tom burst out laughing. What are you talking about? There's no way I can afford that on my $800 monthly salary. You'll have to cover it. My sister is thrilled about living with Jason. I'm also looking forward to living with her again. I felt a surge of intense anger at Tom for making decisions on his own. If you're so fond of your sister, you should just live with her alone. But I'm definitely not on board. Just you wait, I won't let you have your way anymore. My name is Lucy, 45 years old. 10 years ago, right before our wedding, my engagement was broken off. I was at an all-time low when my coworker, Tom, comforted me. That's how our relationship started. The following year, we got married and soon after had our eldest son, Jason. I love my job, so I returned to work full-time after taking a year for maternity leave. With both my husband and me working full-time, we can easily save for Jason's tuition fees and secure our retirement. But then Tom had to take responsibility for a mistake at work and was transferred from the main office of a big corporation to one of its subsidiaries. Unhappy with this, Tom quit his job and began working part-time. His income dropped to a quarter of what it was, but I thought I'd just work more to compensate. However, there's something that worries me more than Tom's salary. It's his sister, Vanessa. Tom's family owned a general store in the local business district, and since they were busy, Vanessa took care of Tom from a young age. She was, in a sense, like a parent to him. She still dotes on Tom more than their own parents and frequently calls him. They exchange messages and she even drops by our house unannounced every 2 weeks. It's really bothersome, but I can't just turn her away. I'm stuck in a tough spot. What's more concerning is that recently, Vanessa seems more interested in our son, Jason, than in Tom. Once, I was forcibly shown the family album that Vanessa said she treasured, and I was shocked to see that Jason looks just like a young Tom. Vanessa, although 53, still looks good. If she toned down her makeup, she'd probably look a lot like Tom. Seeing Tom grow a beard and age made Vanessa a bit disappointed. But now that her nephew is growing to look more and more like a young Tom, she seems overjoyed. So, whenever she visits unexpectedly and Jason isn't around, she becomes noticeably upset. Jason's still at soccer practice? Isn't it too late for a 9-year-old? She'd say, lounging on the sofa in her lace and frilly dress, pouting with her pink lips. He started because his friends invited him. Besides, it's only 6 p.m. Third graders should be in bed by 8 p.m. No way, he has homework too. Times have changed, kids nowadays are busier. Vanessa apparently had difficulty conceiving and, after trying for several years, she gave up. So, her unfamiliarity with modern parenting is understandable, but she still tends to give unsolicited advice. She usually comes over during dinner time. I've heard her husband is on a work assignment in another city, so she likely times her visits to eat with us. And she always has something to say about the food. Really? You're pairing pork chop with clam stew? I'd go with Caesar salad. Vanessa is good at cooking, so she must be right. Well, this is good too, but it could use a bit more salt. I'll eat it since it's here. On another day. This chicken breast is dry, hard to eat. Oh, is it? Right? It's always like this. her cooking is on par with a kindergartner. I fumed silently as Tom laughed. I didn't want to hear it from someone who didn't even know how to hold a cooking knife. If it were me, I'd moisten it with water or wine before cooking. I did that. Then it must be Lucy's poor skills. There's no helping it. Both Vanessa and Tom burst into laughter. Vanessa always cleans her plate, but never misses a chance to add a snide comment. Lucy, since Tom's taking care of you, you ought to consider a proper nutritional balance for him, right, Tom? Well, yeah. Next to Tom, who awkwardly avoids her gaze, I smirk silently to myself. It seems my sister-in-law doesn't realize that I'm the one supporting Tom. Then, when Jason returns, all hell breaks loose. Jason! It's been 2 weeks! Let Auntie get a good look at you. Oh my, you look exactly like your dad when he was young. A future heartthrob for sure. Why not consider being a pop star? Nah, I'm gonna be a soccer player. Are you sure? What a waste. Have you grown taller? Your skin's so smooth, long eyelashes, and silky hair. Lucky you. As Vanessa touches all over his face and hair, Jason forces a smile, but he can't exactly shove his aunt away, so he looks at me for help. Doing the dishes, I rush over, drying my hands, and pull Vanessa away from Jason. Vanessa, please stop. Jason's clearly uncomfortable. It's just a bit of touching. It's not a big deal, right, Tom? Yeah. Vanessa doesn't have kids, so let her touch him. Tom, playing with his phone on the couch, makes the careless remark. It irritates me. Jason isn't a toy. I might find him adorable, but I don't go all touchy-feely on him. This is different. If he doesn't like it, you should respect that. Jason, you don't really mind, do you? With that kind of questioning, how's he supposed to say no? Vanessa, if you don't stop this behavior, I won't let you see him anymore. Oh, don't be so stingy. Fine, from now on, I'll just look from a distance. Vanessa reluctantly agreed, so I felt relieved. However, that's not the only issue in our household. The other day, I suddenly had to work overtime, so I called Tom during my lunch break. Sorry, can you and Jason eat the leftovers in the fridge? Oh, sure. Got it. However, as soon as I came home, Jason ran up to me. I'm hungry. Wait, you haven't eaten yet? Tom, getting up from the couch, grumbled. There's nothing. If it's not freshly cooked dishes, I ain't eating. He snootily remarked, looking at the beef and potatoes I had laid out on the table. If it's just yesterday's leftovers, I don't want it. I'm gonna get a burger. Then, with a scowl, he said to me, if you can't even prepare a meal, don't work late. Well, maybe you should cook every once in a while, Tom. I snapped back, and he replied disdainfully. Excuse me? Isn't housework a woman's job? Even if your cooking sucks. Remember, I took pity on your unattractive self. Thought you'd never find a husband. He smirked wickedly. You can never thank me enough, can you? I was infuriated, but with Jason right in front of me, I bit my tongue. It's always like this. Whenever we fight, he brings up how he rescued me, making it sound like he did me some huge favor. Sure, back then, it was Tom who saved me when I was at my lowest. But now, he's just a low-wage part-timer relying on my salary, and he dumps all the housework on me while acting high and mighty. Will I always be belittled like this? That night, as I gazed at Jason's innocent sleeping face, I pondered. A household where the father ridicules the mother can't be good for a child. Should I get a divorce? But Jason, given my busy work schedule, is attached to Tom. It feels like I'd be taking away his father, and it makes me hesitate. One restless day, after seeing Jason fall asleep, Tom approached me. "From next week, we're gonna live with my sister and her husband. Clear out a room for them." "What?" I was taken aback. "Not what, clean it up properly. I haven't heard anything about this. That's why I'm telling you now," Tom said, sounding annoyed. "My brother-in-law left the company and they have to move out of the company housing. So, I invited them here. Told them they can stay as long as they want." I was dumbfounded. What is he thinking? Making decisions without even asking me. I put on a smile and turned it toward Tom. "Well then, please handle the monthly mortgage of $2,800. "Why?" "I want a divorce." "What?" After a brief pause, Tom burst out laughing. "What are you talking about? There's no way I can afford that on my $800 monthly salary. You'll have to cover it." As if it were a given. Tom continued with a smirk. "My sister is thrilled about living with Jason. She says now they can finally become a real family. I'm also looking forward to living with her again." "Oh, really?" I felt a surge of intense anger at Tom for making decisions on his own. "All right, I get it. If you're so fond of your sister, you should just live with her alone. But I'm definitely not on board. Just you wait, I won't let you have your way anymore." Starting the next day, I took some paid time off and began packing little by little while Tom was at work. I called my parents to see if I could temporarily stay with them. They were even more angry than I was, after hearing about Vanessa's attachment to Jason. "Does she think she can treat our precious grandchild like some kind of pet? What a creep! We can't leave you and Jason in a place like that. Come back home." "Thank you. I'm sorry for this sudden change." When I told Jason we were getting divorced, he asked me with uncertainty, "Can I come with you, Mom?" "Of course, honey. We'll be staying at your grandparents' for a while." "Yay! I love Grandma and Grandpa." I hesitated for a moment before asking, "You know, you might not see your dad as often. Is that okay?" "It's fine. Dad hardly ever plays with me. He just gives short answers to my stories about school, so it's boring." "Oh, really?" Jason made a face, clearly annoyed. Even when he took me to the park when I was little, he'd just sit on the bench and play on his phone. I wanted to play catch, but he'd always say he's too busy and that I should play by myself. I was always jealous of the other kids with their dads. I had no idea. Tom, who always left the household chores to me, would still take a young Jason to the park on his days off. During that time, I was able to do household chores and shopping, which was a huge help. Since Tom always brought toys to play with outside, I assumed they were having fun time together as guys. If Tom wasn't even fulfilling his duties as a father, there was no reason for us to stay together. Fortunately, my parents' house was in the neighboring town, so Jason didn't have to switch schools, and he could continue his soccer lessons, which was a relief. Once I moved back to my parents, I transferred the house's ownership to Tom, changed my address, and started to file for divorce. It's not just about separating, but we also need to split our shared property in half. We need to figure out the worth of our marital property and then split them. We also need to discuss and decide on how much child support for Jason. A friend of my father's mentioned he knew an attorney who's good with divorces, so I've scheduled a meeting to consult with this person over the weekend. One day, after some time had passed since I moved out, I checked my cell phone on my way home from work and my eyes widened. In just 3 hours, an insane number of calls and messages had come in. The voicemail had Tom's desperate voice on it. "Lucy, I got a bill for the house mortgage asking for $2,800. Didn't I say I can't pay?" I sighed and drove back home. Though he sounded so close to tears over the phone, when we met face to face, Tom was as arrogant as ever. "Hey, why am I getting the mortgage bill? This house is under your name, ain't it?" He raised his voice without even waiting for me to sit on the couch. "Yes, it's under my name. But you decided on your own to let your sister and her husband live here, remember? Of course, it's my house too. What's wrong with living with family? We should help each other out when in need, right? Then, starting next week, I'll invite my parents over. They're getting old, and I'm worried. That's fine, right?" Tom's eyes widened. "What are you talking about? No way am I gonna approve of living with your folks." "See, Tom? You react just the same way I do." At my remark, Tom's face turned sour, as if he'd bitten into a lemon. "But wanting a divorce over something like this is just selfish. We have a young kid, Jason. You're gonna take his dad away from him? I've put up with a lot until now, and I've thought about Jason too. But I just can't stand your arrogance anymore," I said in a restrained tone. "Anyway, I've moved out. It's only natural to transfer the house to your name, isn't it? You left without my permission, and you think that's okay? I'm willing to let it slide for now, but hurry up and bring Jason back." "Without your permission?" It's laughable coming from his mouth. Then, as I fell silent, Tom said in a lowered tone, "You're not getting something, are you?" "What?" "No one told you to leave." Suddenly his tone was gentle, and he put on a fawning smile. "Vanessa told me she had no intention of kicking you out. So, come back, do the chores as you've always done, and contribute to the household. Just because there are 2 more of us now doesn't mean things have to change. We have spare rooms after all." I agree about the spare rooms. Right? We need to make use of them. But a $2,800 mortgage is just too much. Tom shrugged, looking exasperated. I replied, half in disbelief. "You're the one who took up such a high mortgage, Tom." "What? My fault? I said I'd be fine with any prefab house if it had a yard. You were the one who listened to the sales staff and opted for all those luxuries." Tom frowned, and I retorted sharply. "You said you wanted a house from a well-known builder, a 7-bedroom place, within a 5-minute walk to the station. You wanted a rooftop, a spacious yard, and a basement. You even wanted imported wall and floor materials. If you stack up such extravagant requirements, of course, it's gonna be expensive. What can I do? If I want to brag to my colleagues and subordinates, it has to be at least this good." Tom tilted his chin up, saying it as if it was the most natural thing in the world. "I was a manager at a top-tier company, that's why we got that loan." "Yeah, and in less than 2 years, you were transferred to a subsidiary and became a part-timer. Since your salary dropped significantly, I, who had been working part-time, took a test to become a full-time employee and ended up paying the mortgage on the house in your name. It's natural for families to help each other out," Tom said arrogantly, without showing a shred of gratitude towards me. "That's why it's only natural to let Vanessa and her husband live in our house. And yet you refuse. You really are cold-hearted." I was ticked off and raised my voice. "So, when is my brother-in-law gonna find a new job? Vanessa is gonna work too, right?" "How would I know that? They can just stay with us," Tom casually responded. "Of course, you'll be covering all their living expenses. You should be able to manage that, being a housewife. Just think of it as repaying the favor Vanessa has done for you all these years." Feeling dizzy, I pressed my forehead and closed my eyes. You might feel grateful to her, but all I get from her are sarcastic comments. After all she's done for Jason, that's just not right. Tom smirked condescendingly. "When you're away for work, Vanessa comes over so Jason won't feel lonely. Hey, how about we let her adopt Jason? That way, we can all be a real family." I was in disbelief. "Are you out of your mind?" "It's a good idea. You can be mom and Vanessa can be mama. Even if she adopts him, if we live in this house, nothing will change. Jason will be thrilled to have a beautiful mama. He'll definitely brag to his friends." With a smug grin, Tom quickly stood up and commanded loudly, "So, bring Jason back quickly. If you want a divorce, hand Jason over to me. At the very least, every month, you'll transfer child support, the house mortgage, and our living expenses to my bank account. You think I'm gonna agree to that? If you don't, I won't agree with getting divorced." With Tom's definitive statement, I chuckled. "Fine." Realizing that further discussion was pointless, I swiftly left the house. I had plans of my own. A few days later, as I prepared dinner in my parents' kitchen, my cell phone rang. Answering it, I heard Tom yelling with a tearful voice, "You went to Vanessa and ratted me out? She called me a liar. What the hell did you do?" Since she seemed unaware of the facts, I enlightened her. I calmly stated, "Tom left the big company long ago and now he's a part-timer. We've been living off my salary. I've been paying the mortgage on our lovely house from my earnings for over 5 years. Since she didn't trust me, I let her listen to the conversation I had recorded from yesterday. She was pretty shocked. "You sneaky little! You're just jealous of how close Vanessa and I are." "What? Are you nuts?" I shouted without thinking. "If you love Vanessa so much, why don't you work and support her?" I hung up angrily and immediately blocked Tom's number. When I reported Tom's behavior to my attorney, I was advised it might be best to go for a divorce mediation. I wonder if Tom even has the money for that. While pondering this during my lunch break at work, I received a call from the school Jason attends. Fearing he might be sick, I answered. "I apologize for calling during your work hours. Are you familiar with a woman named Vanessa Jones?" I was taken aback by the sudden question. "Yes, she's my husband's sister." "Oh, I see. Is something wrong with my sister-in-law?" The homeroom teacher seemed hesitant. "Well, she was arrested on school grounds just a while ago." "What?" I nearly knocked over my coffee. The homeroom teacher proceeded to explain. "She climbed over the gate, entered the school, and approached Jason while he was switching classes. She persistently talked to him and held his hand, so a friend of his reported to me, saying some unknown lady was clinging to Jason." "Oh my!" Although she insisted she was his aunt, Jason responded, "I don't know her." So, we called the police. I imagined Vanessa's bewildered face. She kept complaining, "Jason's mother won't let me see him, and every time I visit her family home, they send me away. It's not my fault, it's his mother's for monopolizing him." After being questioned at the police station, she was sent home. I recalled my dad telling me that Vanessa had come to the house multiple times, trying to catch Jason when he got home, but he had chased her away. "I'm really sorry for the trouble." I apologized over the phone. Was Jason too upset? More like angry. He said she's creepy and that he doesn't want to see her anymore. I see. Once home, I would reassure Jason. Promise him he'd never have to see Vanessa again. I hung up the phone, sipped my coffee, and felt a weight off my chest. Vanessa must have been devastated to be treated as a stranger by Jason. Serves her right, I thought, smirking to myself. Tom was initially very resistant to the divorce, but my attorney persuaded him, saying a divorce mediation would be expensive. So he reluctantly agreed. He even consented to the child support amount I proposed. Now, the value of our jointly owned house needs to be determined, and after deducting the remaining mortgage, Tom and I need to split the money. When Tom got a price quote from a realtor and told Vanessa they were selling the house, Vanessa was furious. "You'll take care of our living expenses, and I'll be able to spend more time with Jason. This isn't what we discussed. You want us to rent an apartment? We don't have that kind of money. I'm broke too. Sorry, but find a way to move. You said you were a manager at a top-tier company and told me to trust you, but turns out you're just a part-timer. You really let me down, Tom. It's really your husband's fault, using company money for personal stuff. Clean up your own mess. What did you say? After a massive argument, Tom and Vanessa and her husband moved into separate apartments. Tom sold the house and paid off my mortgage debt, but he still has to give me monthly child support. So he took on 5 part-time jobs, working from dawn till dusk, sweating it out just to make ends meet and provide that child support. If he couldn't transfer the child support to my account, I'd have his wages garnished, so I guess Tom is really doing his best. Vanessa and her husband, who borrowed money for moving and initial living expenses, also found jobs and started working. But at Vanessa's workplace, there's Jason's classmate's mother, and word quickly spread about Vanessa sneaking into the school. Vanessa, embarrassed, quickly quit her job and mostly stays at home now. A neighbor recently saw her and remarked that she looked haggard and older than her age. Once the divorce procedure was settled, I moved with Jason to a condo near my parents. In case of sudden late work shifts or weekend duties, my parents help take care of Jason. Jason's always been close to my parents, and as they adore him too, I can trust leaving him with them. I feel so refreshed without having to constantly worry about Vanessa's unexpected visits or seeing Tom lounging on the couch while I'm swamped with housework. I'm open to letting Jason see Tom if he wants to, but Jason seems to have had enough of his dad. Not sure when that might change. In the absence of his father, I, along with my parents, intend to raise Jason with all the love and watch him grow.